Select Board meeting of Wednesday, August 9th to order, and the first item is approval of the agenda.
Moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, please. To note that number 11, the approval of change order for the engineering agreement for the Exchange Street project is going to be deferred to your next meeting. And also, we have added a request for an authorization to purchase some pumps. Number 7.
Okay,
And there will be an executive session.
and there's an executive session. So a couple changes from the posted agenda. Anything else? All in favor of approving the agenda with the 3 changes, signify by saying aye.
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 Next is approval of the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments on the consent agenda? Okay. All in favor of approving the consent agenda as drafted?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, aye with the abstention from the meeting minutes. I wasn't there. Next is citizen comments. Is there anybody dialed in?
There is.
I think I see a hand up.
This is Judy Weiger-Gross.
Hi, Judy.
Hey, so I'm here because I've heard that your meetings have been somewhat, not really lively lately. And so I thought maybe I'd attend to just, no, just kidding. But now that you're awake, I just want to thank so many people in this town that have brought us through this summer. Chief Shaw, Chief Hanley, his announcements are amazing. The water department, the wastewater department, DPW, I'm fairly certain everybody has had a bed installed in their offices so that they can take on just the myriad issues. And I guess I also want to thank, maybe most of all, Kathleen, because I'm not sure how she does it, but she has kept her finger on the pulse of all of this stuff. And she sits here tonight looking cool, calm, and collected. And so Kathleen, you've become my role model. But I just want to, my sincerest thanks and gratitude for all the town has done to keep us above water. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you, Judy. I know we all have recognized the exemplary work that our departments have been doing, and it is all of the departments working together, so thanks for recognizing that. Is there anybody else with a hand up? I don't see it.
We have a representative from the SBA here to talk to us very briefly about potential assistance that's available.
Okay. If you could take the chair right there, introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you very much. Apologies for the late arrival. I did run into a couple of road closures. But yes, I am Jim Accurso. I am a Public Affairs Specialist with the Small Business Administration, Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience. And we are here in Vermont offering our disaster loan program to anyone who's had any setbacks related to the flood. Now here in Addison County, currently we are offering the economic injury disaster loans. I know we are awaiting a decision from the state on if Addison County is going to become declared. And if in fact it is, then the entirety of the 3 loan programs that we have here in the state will be offered to Addison County residents. So those are home disaster loans for homeowners and renters. The limits for a claim on a homeowner is $200,000. Renters and homeowners for personal contents is $40,000. Businesses are up to $2 million. And then the economic injury I talked about is $2 million. We are encouraging everyone to either apply online or come into one of our many centers. We have centers in coordination with FEMA, about 8 what they call disaster recovery centers, where FEMA is, we are, the state is, and a number of other nonprofit organizations offering aid. And then we also have our business recovery centers, which I think the nearest to here is probably Waterbury. I know there's a couple in Lamoille County. So we encourage anybody who have any concerns to either call us, come into the center, or go online. Preferably to come into the center, because you'll actually talk to a trained and experienced customer service rep to see if you do in fact qualify. Per the fact sheets that I supplied, you may have, and I'll be happy to meet with anybody and hand out any more information at the end of the meeting, at the end of my presentation here. Your loss has to be related to the rainstorm of July 7th or after. It has to, what you'll do is when you go in and come in and talk to a customer service rep, they'll ask for any proof of the loss that you have. If you're a business, they're going to ask for your EIN number, most recent complete tax form, and then any pictures or proof of the damage. We may come out and do an assessment. Sometimes we do them virtually. Sometimes we do an actual site assessment of the damage to determine, in fact, that you did have that loss related to the flood. Your application is taken at our center. It goes on up into the system. It takes about 3 to 4 weeks to process it, if in fact all your paperwork is in order. And then you'll speak with the loan officer. The loan officer will let you know that the length of the loan, and the loans can be up to 30 years, and then the amount of the loan that you're being awarded. At no time is there a fee that you're going to be charged, or is there any obligation to take the loan. So say if you were to not want the loan at this time, but you want to come back and revisit it down the line, you can. The deadline to apply when those loans, if in fact they do become available to Addison County residents and Middlebury residents, is the 12th of September. So we encourage folks to look into that. And I'm awaiting word to see, again, the entire process, how that happens, I believe that's on the state side with Vermont 211. And I'm awaiting, I haven't heard where that stands. I know, last week's, rain incident was put you guys over the top there. And I know there were a number of claims, I believe, from the state. Did your residents, Kathleen?
Yeah, we had a number of claims, and the question is really if we're going to combine the 2 storm events, or if they're going to be treated separately.
Okay. So it's my understanding then, because if you see the wording on the fact sheet, it says July 7th and following. Yep. So, and also too, Addison County is already a contiguous county, so it's a matter of semantics, to change you to a declared county. So you're already part of the declaration, so I await that, that word, and as you do, and, would encourage, I'll work with Dave, I'll work with Kathleen, to make sure that information is provided. I myself am here for probably a couple of months. I'm staying up in Colchester, so, we're here. This is my job. I travel from disaster to disaster, so we're really here to help. We're here for the long haul, down the line. Anyone does file a claim with us, we'll work to help with mitigation measures. We have partners with the Small Business Development Centers, with the SBA in the state. So, you know, anybody has any questions, needs any additional assistance, the SBDCs are there. We partner with them. For any agricultural needs, we are partnering with the USDA because they offer programs as well, so we're trying to work together with them on that.
So to come meet in person, do we need an appointment or people just show up?
Yeah, they can just show up. Yeah, there's
They can
not,
show
yeah,
up. Okay.
yeah. FEMA was talking about appointments early on. And again, so that's the process. When those loans that I talked about do become available, you actually register with FEMA. FEMA will let you know how they can help money-wise and what they'll be able to help for. You know, standard things, you know, to stabilize your household, get you back in order, sometimes find places to live. Then you're referred to the SBA for the loans that we offer. Many times folks, you know, stop that process right there. They don't want to go for the loan. However, they need to know that they need to apply and then, be found ineligible, and then they can go back to FEMA for additional needs assistance if they don't want the loan. But one other point about the loans are, right now, they are deferred interest-free for a year. So if in fact it's something that you could take on and pay back in a year, you know, there's no real burden, you know, to you. But again, that's something that we're offering.
Okay, well, appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Those fact sheets are in the Select Board's meeting packet for this meeting.
Thank you.
Have that information up on the website for residents too?
Yep.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Are we gonna have Emily do, are you doing the next one, or is Emily doing it?
Emily and Bob
This letter?
are gonna, yeah, Emily?
I don't have a very up-to-date agenda, so you can just talk me through it.
Okay, so what we're doing, the
Purchase.
emergency watershed program.
Oh, okay, yes. So the emergency watershed program, this was recommended to us by the state river engineer. It's specifically for the Holbrooks and Anderson's property, 1230 Grist Mill in East Middlebury. You'll see the image of their slope, but essentially the river has altered course and is now severely eroding their slope, as opposed to being in the original channel where it has historically been, where there's a really nice floodplain for it to be in, but instead it's being pushed south. And so the Holbrook's house is 35 feet from the top of the slope now. When we started this summer, it was more like 75 feet. So it's going quickly. So this is a grant proposal that we would partner with the residents on, to essentially get funding to do stabilization efforts on the slope. I'm meeting the river engineer out there again on Friday. I've brought an engineer on site and have met with both Casella and Acker to sort of brainstorm different approaches on how we can do the work. We can't install any permanent measures until we get verification of funding from EWP. So my thought right now is to just make some temporary improvements on the very upstream side of the slope to try to deter the water back out to the main channel, which would protect this slope in the interim. And I don't know the turnaround on their response for these submittals, but I think it stands a strong argument.
You're not sure what a normal turnaround on a decision on
No,
this?
I know the program is, they have about $14 million in the program right now, and they're focusing on property buyouts. But this, I think this doesn't qualify. This isn't a floodplain, it's not a wetland that we'd be protecting, and so I think they might view it differently.
And getting approval to do the temporary measures, how quickly will that go through?
So I emailed Army Corps today. We can do the temporary measures within the limits of 200 feet of stabilization efforts. That's the Army Corps threshold before you get a permit. But I emailed Mike Adams. One of the ideas is to cut down this slope and then bench it back, which they would lose property, but we wouldn't be coming through the river, which is still pretty high. The other idea is to come through the river. And so that's what I reached out to the Army Corps to see what their take. They do allow it in these situations, but I just want to make sure it's upfront.
How do you get through the river to put riprap or something like that over, to start diverting a river flow back with it flowing like that?
We would have to build temporary bridges with culvert sections that they would track across
Okay.
to bring, I think we could haul material in from the Newton property. There's a pretty decent access point there,
Yeah.
but it would be crossing two channels, and when I was there yesterday, it was still way too high to be venturing on that endeavor. So it would be easier to use the slope, but the slope is a bit of an engineering feat.
Yeah, that slope is pretty significant.
It's
too.
30 to 35 feet tall, so.
So, really big picture. Emily is on looking out for financial support for stabilizing the bank, and also on top of the permitting required for that to move forward in both a short-term and a long-term fashion.
That's part of a bigger package for a lot of properties. Are you submitting on, I know you got to, there was a part of our packet where was that all part of?
I submitted that one earlier this week. I sort of want to reach out to the program and find out if it'd be easier on them if we do just one big umbrella submittal.
I was curious about.
But there's, like, this property is so much more unique than just downstream, like the Aussie berm. That is a potential buyout that we could do. So I don't know that, they might want to keep it separate, I don't know.
Yeah.
And this one is a bit more of an emergency than, Aussie berm still has a lot of protection, and we do have the ability to get back in there and stabilize it to what the flood resiliency project had it at. I think we just might need to increase efforts, so I don't know. I can reach out to them to find out the best approach, though. Whenever I email them, you just get the instant response. We are extremely busy right now.
Sure. And what you're looking for from us is to support this letter for the request in the funding?
Yeah, I guess, and also support in the temporary measures that we're proposing
And
to
support
at least get us to a stage where we can look for more permanent solutions and bigger funding.
And at what point do we find out whether we get some funding? I mean, do we hear anything from the governor's office, Kathleen, as far as whether we get some funding for this?
We haven't heard on the declaration yet.
The last I heard today, he was petitioning to get it combined with the previous storm, but I think the way the statute's written, it's supposed to be treated separately.
Because there was a break in between?
I don't know. I haven't read the Stafford Act. I think
Right,
that's what
out
is
in
listed.
between, no?
I assume because of the time frame, but I don't know.
Two different events.
Yeah. It would be ideal if we could get them, from the paperwork side of things, it would be ideal if we could get them grouped together. And for the financial side of
Yeah.
things, I mean, we have impacts again in the same places, so we'll have to be tracking it two different ways if.
Who makes the call on this, Kathleen? Is this FEMA, or does the governor's office?
Well, I think the governor has to petition FEMA once he
Yeah.
gets, he
Petition.
makes the declaration.
The
Makes
state
a
has
state
to,
declaration first?
yeah, the state has to reach, I forget the exact, 1.3 million in that threshold. And then once the state reaches that threshold, then the individual counties have to reach a threshold. And we could probably.
1.3 million right here.
The town of Middlebury could probably meet the state's threshold at this point, honestly.
Right.
So I think it's just a matter of how they're going to classify it. I think on the public assessment, either way, will be protected by FEMA. I think where it will really benefit is on the individual assessment.
For homes.
For the
and
homes.
stuff, yeah. And is there anything we can do, or is it a waiting game?
I think we should write to our senators and reps. I feel like that's the strongest argument at this point.
Which we've done.
You did do it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And does it do any good petitioning FEMA?
I think we should focus our efforts on Vermont Emergency Management and the governor's office.
FEMA?
Yeah. I think I did get a call from our regional project manager from the state, and FEMA's coming hopefully tomorrow, so we'll be able to tour around with them. And I think once that happens, then the declaration will be made.
Okay, so they are coming to,
We're hoping to set it up for tomorrow afternoon. It
Little
just
boots
depends
on
on
the
how
ground.
long. What's that?
little boots on the ground?
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
I'll move to submit the town as a sponsor, the proposed application to the Emergency Watershed Protection Program for the properties at 12 and 30 Gristmill Road.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye? Okay, Dan's got his thumb up. Is there anything else that you need from us to keep you moving forward?
Well, Emily is going to talk to you, and Bob's going to talk to you a little bit about the pump station
Yeah.
after we take care of Bob on the sampler for the wastewater treatment facility and the replacement of the police department radio from Chief Hanley.
Hey, Bob.
Hi. So we have an influent and effluent sampler, and the effluent sampler has been giving us issues, and it's 23 years old, actually going on 24 years old. Parts and pieces are getting hard to replace. In our budget this year, I put in for $8,900 for the sampler, which was the same as we had. So programming, it was going to tire it in what the guys have already been playing with. And then when we went to purchase it, it's a little over $10,000. So we'd like to go after this as a sole source and just make the acquisition for this sampler.
Anybody have any questions of Bob on this?
I'll move to approve the purchase by the Public Works Department for a new sampler instrument from, how do you say that?
Hack?
ACK for $10,474.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Dan's got his thumb up. You're good to go.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Chief?
This year is the year we budgeted in capital programs to replace our repeater up on Chipman Hill. Fortunately, a couple of weeks ago, a lightning strike blew the antenna apart and wrecked the repeater as well on the mountain. So right now, we're dealing with an old pieces parts repeater they were able to dig up and make the system work. So what we're seeking is to forego the regular bid process that you would do for a capital improvements program like this. Radio North Group installed the repeater up there. They did the full repair on our antenna, which was about a $10,000 and change repair to get up on the tower and replace all our equipment on the tower and rent the repeater. The price they gave us to replace the repeater itself was $18,000. We had budgeted $24,000, so it came well within our budgeted price. So there's a couple of reasons we want to restrict the people up at the antenna. Radio North Group is servicing equipment for the fire department as well. A few years ago, the select board came out with a policy making us in charge of security at the tower because too many people were getting in there and tampering with equipment, putting aerials on the tower that were unauthorized, et cetera, et cetera. So we want to really reduce the number of people that have access to that tower. Since we're already dealing with Radio North, they put the original repeater in, they did the full repair on the tower that we have now. We're hoping to just go with their bid so we can get that equipment in place rather than waiting, you know, the kind of slow bid process for several months to get this up.
Do we need to include in the motion that it's a sole source purchase?
You good?
Okay. And do we need to include a price?
Price would be good.
Yeah,
Do you have something?
yeah, it's about 18.5, and it's a price not to exceed.
Okay.
So whatever he can come in within that, he'll come in within that.
Is a price not to exceed, do you want to make it 19,000?
We could do 19,000, but the bid he gave me, which I don't have, unfortunately, it looks like the repair bill got put with this stuff instead of the tower, the repeater paperwork, so.
And that repair bill's getting reimbursed by insurance.
Yeah, we've spoken to insurance, and I'm meeting with them next week. So I'm hoping they'll cover most of that, part of that.
Okay.
So I'll move to authorize the Middlebury Police Department to make a sole source purchase for not to exceed 19,000 for a replacement radio repeater from Radio North Group Incorporated.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other questions on this? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. You're good to go, chief.
Thank you.
Thanks. Everything dried out over there?
A little bit, a little bit.
Did you get any mold growth at all?
No, we had about 4 or 5 inches of water in the building at the time.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of, the guys got on it right away as we were bringing them into work with vacuum cleaners and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It looks like we're gonna get away without any kind of mold issues in the building. We're gonna have to replace the carpet in the community room. It's just not fixable. The other carpets are a little beat up from getting soaking wet, but we'll have the insurance guy look at it when he comes next Monday. It's been about 110, 120 in that building all week with fans and humidifiers and things throughout the whole building. So we've not been able to use the building. We're working out of the truck next door, so it's been a little interesting trying to keep business going like that.
Yeah.
But we persevere. We get it done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
So I wonder if you want to take David Shaw, Fire Chief, for the fire station security system update, so we can send him on his way.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We're gonna move you up in the agenda, Dave, and then we can kick you out of here and you can get on your way home for dinner.
Thank you very much. I like the way you think, Brian. Thank you. Thank you, Kathleen. Welcome back. How was your vacation? Good? Yeah, it's too short.
Yeah.
Can't go away. Things fall apart when you leave. I'm just telling you. Thank you for adjusting your schedule. Seeking sole source provider to replace our security access systems at the fire station. In my summary, I point out that both systems were installed in 2013 at the low bidder, and they've been problematic since 2015. And we spend money on them every single year now. Now, it's come to a point where the cameras aren't available to replace, nor are the door actuators. So we have 4 doors, but only 2 that are optional or operational, and 6 cameras and 4 that are working. So we need to do something. I spoke to both vendors, asked them for original pricing, and they both came back with original pricing, and then I asked them to consider a discount for emergency services. That we've been getting our butt kicked this year, and that our guys have been kind of going above and beyond. And the first vendor, Scenic View Trades, offered a discount on his labor, and when I spoke to the vendor from Royal, his company doesn't participate in that type of program. And 48 hours later, he came back with a discount of $5,200 on his labor. The Royal Group has installed many systems in the town and also within the town property, is a reputable vendor, and both of these will fit our needs.
This is all within your budget?
Yes, this is a capital project, Brian, that's been in the works for 2 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any other questions? take them as two separate motions.
I'll move to approve the proposed agreement between the Town of Middlebury Fire Department and Royal Group for a sole source purchase for an access control system for $11,963.70.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I'll move to approve the proposed agreement between the Town of Middlebury Fire Department and Scenic View Trades LLC for a sole source purchase of $2,851.59 for the installation of a new security camera system.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. I think your food will still be warm, Dave.
Well, it's getting warm outside, so it'll be fine, Brian. Thank you guys for your consideration. Appreciate
you.
it.
Yeah, I saw that the rescue guys were here
Back again.
en masse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good thing
Enjoyable
they
to
were.
work with?
That's their third trip to Middlebury, so,
Yeah.
yeah, the Michigan people left without a lot of work, and then the state came down and we provided some work for them, and then they came down a second time and we provided some work for them at that time as well, so. Yeah, we've done 5 vehicle rescues and 3 home evacuations during that situation, yeah.
They able to do some like cross-training with your guys?
Oh, yeah,
Your team?
we train with them on a regular basis anyways, throughout the year, yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Chief. And we're back to Emily, I believe.
So, Emily, we have about 15 minutes before we have to go to
Next door.
the Town Hall Theater.
Okay. I guess we can just quickly flip through the slides. I think the next slide shows the storm event. All of the reports that I heard were 4.5 to 7 inches of rain, which puts it in the 1,000-year storm category. So
1,000-year storm.
1,000-year storm, 2 weeks after a 10-year, 3 weeks. I mean, a 100-year storm. So obviously, a lot more damage this time around. Lots of flooded roads. My concern right now is that we probably still have a lot of floating pavement that we are not necessarily aware of the integrity underneath until we get another storm event and it completely fails. So I think more sinkholes will probably be opening up and developing as we proceed here. We're going to start going through all of our structures, catch basins, and sewer manholes to do an inspection to make sure that they're not compromised. And keep going. This is on Painter Road. The crew took that photo the night when it was flooding, and then this is the next morning. We had Acker on site starting to stabilize.
Did that culvert plug? Is that what happened?
I don't know what happened on that one. There was a lot of debris there, so I wouldn't be surprised if that was it. It is a pretty substantial culvert.
It's probably not really designed for 1,000 years.
Yeah, nothing, I mean, that's the problem, and you can't design for it.
We designed for
No,
1,000 years.
I get it. I'm just curious because
Yeah.
the amount of water that came, that dammed up, I mean, it was like it was plugged.
Yeah, there's a big watershed that flows into it, so, and there were trees, or like, a lot of debris, but I don't know. I wasn't there Thursday night when it happened, so I'm not quite sure. The sinkhole on the left is at the Maverick gas station, the culvert that crosses Route 7, which is undersized, and we have conducted the hydraulic study as part of the Charles Monroe intersection, so we know the sizing of the culvert to be installed there, which is significantly larger than what we have. So that one failed, caused that sinkhole. And then the one on the right is Seymour Street extension, right where the pump station is. So that one completely blew out. That was the culvert being undersized as well. These are the 2 slides on, I guess this is both the same slide, on High Street. We had 2 slides, one went into North Pleasant and one went into their backyard at 77 North Pleasant. So Kingsbury stabilized both of those on Saturday, I believe. It was the night that it actually slid Yeah, so the first ones were both the house, and then these are the ones that went into the road. This is the 116 issue, so the structure, there's a relief structure built on top of the dam for Dow Pond, and we knew that that structure was at the end of its lifespan, so V-Trans has been working on a design for that structure. It's currently in permitting, was projected to go out to bid in January, but it failed before we got there. So when it failed, it also took out a portion of our transmission main. So right now, they have a couple of these big pumps trying to draw down Dow Pond to get enough relief off the dam. I didn't talk to the engineers today. We have a meeting set up for tomorrow. I think the last I knew, because the project is already designed, if we have to wait for a box to get poured, it's about an 80-foot structure. So it would be a 30-day closure, but there's potentially one in New York that we could get. And so they were trying to figure out if it would be hydraulically capable of what we need.
Is that a state project then?
It's a state project that they were going to replace the structure, and while they were doing that work, we were going to replace our water line.
Yeah.
So,
It's been in the works for a couple of years.
yeah. Right now, it's just hung up in permitting, but they were on track for a January bid. So, we'll know more on that one soon. These are the slopes that we talked about earlier up on Gristmill Road. That's the slope looking at it from Newton's. And you can see the Holbrook's house at the top of that image getting precariously close to the top of the slope. It's just really sandy loam soil. I forgot that this was in there. I thought I took this section out. So we're gonna go back in and do additional efforts upstream. The slope that we stabilized at 468 East Main held and essentially protected the East Middlebury Village in doing so. So now the property at 472 East Main lost some stream bank, so we're gonna go in there and continue our efforts for stabilization. That was the effort that we made after the last one. These sheets have peeled off of the wall pretty substantially at this point, so we need to get an engineer in there to look at that. They're protecting the toe of the wall from scour. So I think they're probably still serving that purpose, but I would imagine they're compromised to some degree, and the concrete behind them is just flowable fill, so it doesn't have much structural integrity. So I have concerns about that as well. USGS came out and marked the high water for the July 14th storm. They were supposed to come back this week and survey it, so we would actually get an elevation, which would be useful. I don't know that they've made it that far, given the more recent storm event. You can go through all of these. I didn't realize, I thought I had cut these slides off of here, Kathleen, so keep going. That's,
Okay.
yeah. We have a lot of debris, lots of down logs and trees that are potentially blocking flow in the river. So that's just another regulatory question of what we can do and if we can take it out or what we are allowed to do with it.
I don't know if you know, I was gonna bring it up tomorrow, but there's a pretty significant blockage just east of the
Like,
Sharpeville
Yes,
Bridge.
I'm aware of that one.
Okay.
Yep.
If that lets go, it potentially damage
The bridge,
bridge.
absolutely, yep. This is the Aussie berm that lost probably another 20 feet of material in this last event. I did talk to the property owner tonight. He's interested in a potential buyout, so that would utilize that same EWP funding source. And I think they would be interested in that. Let me keep going. Oh, yes. Wait, can you go up one? Because that shows it's pretty much from the same spot. There's a large sycamore tree on the upstream side of the river there. And it's right on the edge of the slope now. And the first time I got called out, it probably had 30 feet of protection and some other trees in front of it still. So. Downtown, we closed down the pedestrian bridge after that last storm. VHB came out and did an engineering assessment of it last week, I think, right? Tuesday? It's all a little blurry now. And they cleared it. They said that it was fine. There was no sign of scour, but we have decided that we should do a thorough engineering review of it in this next budget cycle. There are definite deferred maintenance issues that need to get addressed, so I think we just need to build it into the budget. This is 3 Mile Bridge Road. That held up really well. This is the scour protection that we put in place after the July storm, and it did go over top this, but the stone held and it looked decent the next day, so I think that definitely made a big difference on that slope.
Just south of where the stone was put in is scoured pretty good now,
On the downs,
though. Or it's just west of.
okay,
yeah,
downstream, okay. Part of that, there was an island sticking out that I didn't mind if we lost some of that, because it would potentially open up.
And
the channel.
unrelated to the storm, just west of there, beyond where the big culvert bridge is, beyond this, there's a culvert, there's a dip where there's a culvert.
That
may be
culvert's failed.
failing.
Yeah, it is failed. Yep. We noted that one today. North Branch, I think you've already seen this from the last event. North Branch actually held up really well in this last storm. We just had to. What's that?
It's where the glue we paved it is held up pretty well.
Well, yeah, the very bottom of the pavement lost it in the last storm, but in this more previous storm, and they got a significant amount of rain, the efforts from all of the ditching that the crew did after the July storm held. All they had to do was sweep the road up there. The Dragon Brook culvert that they repaired, but it was just a Band-Aid repair to get the resident out. That one blew apart again, but we knew that wasn't a final fix. Go ahead. Is that it?
I think that's
Okay.
it. So if you wanted to, if there's questions, fine, but if we could hit the pumping
Pump
station
station.
damage and the drinking water state revolving loan fund in the next 5 minutes.
The pump stations got hit hard in this storm. Main pump station got completely submerged. Rogers Road pump station got completely submerged. Those pumps aren't designed to be submerged. And so Bob and the crew has done an amazing effort to get the main pump station back online in a 2-day period, which is pretty much unheard of. So by Saturday night, they were active again. So we have a bypass pump operating the main pump station. He's pulled the motors. They're out to get rebuilt. Pulling the pumps.
Pumps are pulled today.
Pumps are
They're
pulled,
be
gonna
delivered
ship
on
them.
Friday.
Okay. So the thought process is to get everything rebuilt as a temporary fix. Long-term, those pumps and motors need to be replaced, which is obviously a much more expensive endeavor. And you don't have a
I don't have a price
lead
for
time,
that
right?
yet, no.
Yeah, so we're still working on the price and the lead time. We're probably looking at 6 to 10 weeks with this bypass pump. But it's keeping up so far.
Yes,
Last night it did okay?
working fine.
Okay. And then Rogers Road, similar situation, 2 pumps. They were both submerged, and so one motor burned out completely, and they put a spare in, but it's limping along. So I authorized him to at least start the process to get new pumps ordered for that pump station with a 6-week lead time.
3 weeks for the pump body itself and 11 weeks for the motors.
Okay. So hopefully we can limp it along in the meantime.
Limps us into the winter.
So Rogers Road is one that's currently in design, and it will be designed similar to Seminary Street, where it will be a pump that can be submerged, but we're not there yet.
So when we get the new equipment that we're purchasing, it can go into the redesign of that?
We can design, I would think we're at the point we could design around, well, no, because it'll be submerged. How will that
The
work?
pumps that we're putting in now are gonna be dry pit pumps, just like we have, just replacing kind. When we do the design for Rogers, they're gonna be submersibles, so these
Okay.
pumps.
So
So
we
it's a
just-
$50,000 expense that we're gonna be spending,
But the pumps can be taken out and used elsewhere if needed,
Correct.
potentially, yes.
potentially, yeah. So what do you need a motion for the Roger Road motor and related equipment?
Yeah, that'd be great.
And the 21,375 is, or 379 is good, you don't need a,
That's per pump, so we'd like to purchase 2 of them, plus the installation cost.
so you need more than what this motion says.
Yeah, it's 42,750, 43,000 not to exceed maybe?
Does that include your installation as well?
I had 5,000 in there in the installation, and didn't you get a different quote?
Nope, nope.
Okay, that was
5,000
5,000?
for the installation for the Rogers, that's an estimate I'm putting in, because I'm not sure
We're
what
not
Champlain's gonna charge for the
So,
installation.
should we cushion the not to exceed?
So why don't we make it 45?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Or
we
wait,
make it
so
45, that includes 2 pumps.
My total is at, 47,758 if we are doing a $5,000 installation.
Probably should do 48,
Yeah,
not to exceed.
Is that gonna be enough?
or
then?
do 50,000.
What the hell? And so the 50,000 includes the 2 pumps and an estimated installation for the 2 pumps, correct?
Two
Correct.
pumps and motors, yes.
Okay. So I'll move to approve the purchase of replacement pumps and motors and related equipment and installation for the Rogers Road Pump Station, 2 pumps, plus estimated installation for not to exceed price of $50,000.
Second.
Is that all correct?
Yes. And part of that installation cost, we could say, oh, we're gonna use our crane, so we could pull some of the charges out. So once I get an actual number on that, then we can see how much we actually have.
So if you need more, you just come back.
And they're both going into Rogers Road Pump Station?
Rogers Road Pump Station, yeah. Rogers Road Pump Station, that's operating now. We have a spare motor that we're using on it. There's another spare motor that we have that still matches. That's gonna go out to make sure that one's gonna work okay, then we'll swap them out. And we've got the pumps going out on Friday for the main pump station. And the motors have already been sent out to be rewound. The motors will come back in 2 weeks, but the pumps, I'm not sure how long it's gonna take.
Okay.
And then we can stop the bypass pump.
So the pumps and the motors are separate. So the 50,000 is just for 2 pumps, doesn't include motors.
The 50,000's for Rogers Road. That's the 2 pumps.
Okay,
And
but
it's
not motors for Roger, just pumps.
The motor and
A
pump.
motor and pump, okay. Okay. And so you've got enough for now, and worst case, you come back for more if you.
Okay, any other questions on that? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then you want a motion to authorize the ongoing emergency infrastructure repairs?
That'd be helpful.
So you don't feel like you're writing checks that you can't cash?
Yeah.
We're probably already beyond that point.
Yeah.
We're well beyond that
We're
point.
well
I know.
beyond that.
I'll move to authorize the ongoing emergency infrastructure repair work the Public Works is presently undertaking in response to recent storm events.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 We have a hand from Judy Weiger Groves.
Hi Judy, hopefully you can make this very quick, because we're already late to another meeting. Judy? Judy?
Sorry,
Yep,
so I've said this before at these meetings and particularly at, sorry, you're hearing my dogs. The solutions we have employed before, and I apologize if I sound like I am on a pedestal proselytizing. The solutions we have employed before are not working. The multi-million-dollar project at the Middlebury River at Gristmill Road is failing 3 years in. I'm going to say this at the same time. I'm going to say this same thing at tomorrow's infrastructure committee meeting. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Judy, I think that some people would disagree with you that without those,
And that's fine, but
that
Kathleen,
those.
please let me finish.
Judy, can you encapsulate this in a 20-second statement? If not, I'm gonna have to cut you off, and you can make your comments at the infrastructure meeting, because we really need to move on. I do appreciate your input, but I don't have time for it tonight.
I think we need to start thinking outside the box, period.
Okay. I'll look for what your solution outside the box is.
So can I just make so that Emily doesn't have to wait around for us to come back, can I just make a motion to approve the town's application to the Vermont revolving loan fund to support the feasibility and planning assessment for the town's water system?
Absolutely.
Second.
Are there any questions on that? Everybody read the packet, understood it?
We've talked about it in infrastructure, I'm comfortable going forward.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Do we need to do anything special to table the meeting until we come back from?
So I would say, set a time to reconvene at like 8:30 or 8:15, and if we're a little bit later than that, it'll be what it is, and I'll just keep the meeting open here.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to,
Adjourn.
adjourn temporarily until 8:15, 8:30 this evening? Does that work?
I would say reconvene. Adjourn
Reconvene.
is like final.
Yeah.
Table the
Recess,
meeting, recess the
Recess.
meeting,
Farhad's
until
got
we
it.
reconvene later this evening, 8:15, 8:30. Does that work? Somebody's got a second?
Second.
Aye.
Probably. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
So Dan, I'll give you a text. Dan is on.
Oh, Dan is here. Okay. Take two. Having our recessed select board meeting
Hang on a minute. Are we recording?
Yep.
of, from, I guess it was 6:30-ish, and we're resuming at 16-minute, 8:45, call it. And we are on agenda item number 9, I believe. Kathleen,
So Ross Conrad of the Energy Committee asked the Select Board to approve a grant application for a small capacity building mini grant of $4,000. We're still working on refining what that might be, but it's at a program where you essentially apply and you get it. We're thinking something to do with the climate action plan or perhaps an EV survey of where EV charging stations should be. And so a couple of ideas in play.
Okay. Actually sounds like a good one, that second one, try to define, that's one of the issues, right?
David's done a little bit of work on that, and it may not be able to fund the EV charging stations once we know where we want to
Too
put
little. Okay.
Okay.
Any questions on that? Motion?
I'll move to authorize the town manager to submit an application to the state of Vermont's Department of Buildings and General Services for a community capacity building mini grant to support the broader efforts of the town in regard to MERP program.
Second. Aw, you can have it.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
And then the transportation planning study grant. Jennifer has prepared another excellent application looking to build on feedback received through the bike ped planning process to develop 3 or 4 concepts that we could go forward with. The town of Middlebury has funded a lot of its planning studies with this grant, like the Exchange Street sidewalk that we're moving forward with, was initially funded from this program.
And our contribution would be
No contribution,
no
No
contribution.
match.
unless unless we don't agree. Depending on what their award is, we may want to put something in.
We put something in to get maybe a more thorough study or, okay, all right. Questions?
I'll
Motion?
move to authorize the town manager to submit an FY24 application for $20,000 to the Addison County Regional Planning Commission for a Transportation Advisory Committee's grant initiative.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 11's pushing back to the 22nd. We did 12. Check warrants.
We're not doing 11, right?
Yeah.
All right, I'll move to approve total expenditures in the amount of $433,998.22, consisting of $295,533.96 for accounts payable and $138,464.26 for payroll for the period of July 26, 2023 to August 8, 2023.
Have a second? Okay, moved and seconded, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Board member concerns. Heather?
I'm good.
Isabel?
I met with 2 Middlebury College students who are interested in setting up a sister city in Ukraine. So we're going to be doing some research and just meeting with other international students on campus to kind of see, where we might have a connection already that might make it easier to set up a sister city and just get to know the sister city organization, see if there's any fees involved, and, put something together for this spring.
Was one of the students Rostic?
Yeah.
Lovely kid.
They actually got their idea from a Parks and Recreation episode.
Oh,
I said, I
really?
love Parks and Rec.
I'll be anxious to hear more about it as it starts to develop.
Yeah.
Vermont has partnerships with some of the emerging countries, so with the would they be looking for the town to actually sign some partnership agreement? Is that what they're
I
proposing?
think
Like a
so.
cultural
And
exchange.
Hartford, Vermont, and Burlington also have their own sister cities. So we wouldn't be the first. So it's
No,
also
there's
connecting with,
common.
yeah, Rebecca White, who's the senator from Hartford, to kind of hear her perspective on what is it like to set it up, keep it sustainable, what is the town responsible for, what is that community responsible for. Yeah.
Interesting. Danny?
Yes, I just, again, wanted to, reiterate kind of what Judy said. I was out of town, this weekend, and, actually was, emailing with Kathleen. She was keeping me up to speed. And my Helpin' Road, my little creek on my property took out, Helpin' Road. And when I came back on Sunday night and walked Helpin' Road, all the town had already fixed where we had it washed out, and they had already repaired all the damage on Helpin' Road and along the road. And I know that a lot of people have been put in 24-hour days, but the department has certainly stepped up here, and all the people and DPW and the staff. So I was just super impressed and heard a lot of those comments around town. So thank you, Kathleen. It's just fabulous.
I'll pass that on to the staff.
We need to do something to recognize them. I know we had
Yeah.
the luncheon that I missed, because I forgot, but I don't know how you recognize those people. But thanks.
Yeah, and I was just gonna also extend that to all the private businesses that helped with everything. The integration of the town and those businesses that were ready was pretty seamless, and it was very encouraging to see at a time that I think everybody was very nervous about how things were gonna go, so
Yeah. Anything else?
that was my only thing.
Farhad?
I second Dan's comment about appreciating the town and all the staff, including DPW, police department, and the fire department. They went well beyond what we can expect from any human being to do for us. Much appreciated. The other thing I want to bring it to your attention is there's a lot of feedback about the crosswalk that goes from Shaw's to National Food Co-op. I think the lines are fading. There's a lot of traffic there now, and there are a lot of pedestrians crossing over and stuff. And somebody mentioned that they almost got hit, and somebody said that I almost hit somebody. Is one of the comments. So
I know that I saw some sidewalk painting, the crosswalk painting going on today. So they're starting on it.
Yeah, it was on their list, because we had talked about it or 2 meetings ago, and unfortunately, the weather has took
Not been
them away from it, yeah.
And then so many comments about the boiling advisory, the water boiling. Everybody's asking, do I have to boil I said north of that Coy Road, and said, how north? How much north? I don't know.
If you're on town water north,
Yeah.
you're probably getting fed by it. Okay, we do have need for a executive session, so is anybody, you got it open? Could you lead us into it?
Sure. In accordance with Vermont's open meeting law requirements, I move that the board find that premature general knowledge of the consideration of real estate would clearly place the select board at a substantial disadvantage because the select board risks disclosing its negotiating strategy if it discusses the real estate matter in public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I also move that the board enter into the executive session to discuss real estate matters under the provisions of Title I, Section 313A1 of Vermont statutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're entering executive session at 8:55.